Hello there, good evening, and welcome to episode 4 of Bay City Pollers, the music podcast that will eventually create a list of the 30 greatest Scottish songs ever. To do that, we are carrying out a series of polls on Twitter X, and from those polls, we're getting the songs nominated by our friends that we then review on our podcast. And tonight, we're going to review the next bunch. Okay, so to help us do that tonight, we have our resident Bay City Polar, Caroline Binnie. Good evening, Caroline.
Evening.
How are we?
We're very well, thank you.
Thanks for making it back from Paris.
Mhm. It was a trial, but I'd rather be there, I have to say, but I'm sure I'll enjoy this.
No offence taken.
Mhm.
And we also have a friend from a previous podcast tonight, the award-winning writer, Julie Rea. Julie, good evening.
Hi there.
How are we?
Very well. A bit embarrassed with that intro, but very well. Doing good.
It's factual, isn't it? So,
Yeah, well, you get the fiver later. Yeah, we'll bung you the money later. Right.
absolutely. Julie's not been on this podcast series yet, but she was on the 100 album stuff that we did and fell out with us because we voted off Nirvana from the
Yeah.
the
I'm
final
still
list.
still smarting slightly from that, but we're okay.
Yeah,
We're okay.
yeah.
Getting there. Getting over it.
Sorry about that. Okay, guys. So we've got a couple of slides to look at because we've obviously got a lot of information to track back through. So I'll pull up some slides in a second to make sure we're all on the same page. Just a kind of general overview on how things have all been going. What's your take on how this has been received so far?
And I think this vote is interesting because so few made it through, and
Yeah.
all the ones that did are pretty big names.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll come on to this latest one.
Mhm.
It's been a bit of a car wreck, to be honest. Don't know sure what that tells us, but it certainly has been more difficult than the other ones. Julie, have you managed to keep tabs on any of it at all?
Yeah, I've been following it, and I think I know quite a lot. But even I've been surprised at the quite a few that I'm discovering, and I've had to put don't know, and I think that's maybe what it's been. That just because it's been so kind of rare that's kind of pushed it back. But there was a few that I was like, this is a no-brainer. It's going to be a shoe in, and they never got in, and
I know.
I was a bit surprised. Yeah, there was quite a few.
There are some big hitters that at the
Hmm.
moment aren't through to the final, and
Mm.
I suppose maybe it's one for us all to reflect on, but everyone's got their own view on bands that are great in inverted commas or have written great songs, and I think the difference for this poll is that I'll use Belle and Sebastian as an example. So I think everyone pretty much loves Belle and Sebastian, but I think they've had maybe one song voted through out of about six, I think,
Mhm.
across the polls. And I suppose when you get down to that, part of the reason for that is that it's the band and the kind of consistency of their songs that everybody loves, not necessarily that they've got a massive amount of standout tracks when you put them
Mhm.
next to, as Caroline says, some of the big hitters that are out there. So it's been quite interesting to see how people take that. And also our audience, a lot of them are kind of, Scottish based, which is great. But we also are thankfully got lots of people who give us some votes and stuff from all over the UK and all over the world now. There's 30, I think it's 35 countries or something that sort of chip in now and again. So the further away you get, of course, the less niche it becomes.
Mhm.
So you do end up being a bit more general, I think. But yeah, but we've got a good list. I think when you see the final list when we get to talk about that, it's pretty good. I was only one PS to that before I pulled the list up. And the biggest disappointment I had in the last vote was that I actually had to bar someone from the page for the
Oh
first
no.
for the first time. And I always said I wouldn't do it because I don't like when people do that. But just multiple chances to try and get back into the spirit of what we're doing. And it was annoying me and more important, annoying other
Mhm.
people, which you just can't have that. But I'm fingers crossed I'm going to try and get the person back on because I'm sure they're a very good person deep down. Right. So
So diplomatic.
right, okay, let's see what I can find for us. Hopefully this will work. Just pull this up. So tell me you can see that, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so what we've got there is we have a quick update on where we are before the last batch of polling. So we did a pre-70s one, which we voted the guys voted 19 out of 50 through, and we added a couple back in. We then had the 80s one, which I suppose was the one with the most meat in the bones, where strike rate was very high, voted 42 out of 105 on, which I guess was no big surprise. But then at the 90s we put 25 out of 90 on. So ratio was slightly lower, but again, quite a few songs went through. So before we started the last polls, we had 86 out of 245 voted through to the final, 50% or more. They needed to get that. Okay. So we then moved into 2000 to 2025, and what we ended up with were these guys. So we had 14 out of, I think it's 107, voted 50% or more.
Wow.
I
And as
know,
Caroline was saying, it's the really well-known ones.
really interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, I probably like, well, I do like them all. I can't think, I don't think there's anyone that I actually don't like, but if you'd asked me to write down 15 or so that we're going to get through, it certainly wouldn't have been 15,
No.
So I'm not sure why that is. Guys like Franz Ferdinand, I think, I like them, and they're probably not maybe as cool as some of the other bands, but of course they're very successful, aren't they?
Hmm.
So put them on a poll, they've got one or two really big songs, and people sort of buy into that, I think. Katie Tunstall. I'd kind of forgot about her a little bit until she was nominated.
Hmm.
And then she ended up with two out of three songs in the over 50%. So there's one, two, I think there's five bands or artists there that have got two songs on out the 14.
I'd really surprised Travis just if we're doing that, like for Katie Tunstall to have two and Travis to have one. And it's one of their songs that I like, not the least, but it's one of the ones that I could skip over. So I was kind of like, and Franz
Yeah.
Ferdinand, they had two as well. I was a bit surprised as well. As I said, I think they're a good band, but no one would have said they would have had two in the final 15.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Caroline, what was your take?
I think just as I said before, and it's Julie's mentioned just now, I think they're all very popular bands. Possibly the least obvious one is Camera Obscura having two
Yeah.
through. But
Hmm.
everybody loves Camera Obscura, so it's not that surprising. But I think there are some more, should I say, interesting choices on the list that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's fair. A couple of shout outs for me. I have a bit of a soft spot for Las Vegas. So I was surprised again they put two through. Particularly they're kind of one album bands really, aren't they?
Hmm.
But a couple of cracking songs there. So it was nice to see at least one of them go through. And also I was delighted that weightlifting made the list. Very much more like the type of band that I think we would all, respect and love. Trash Cans. So they managed to sneak in at the bottom there, which was lovely. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. So there's 14 on, which out of 107 tells you that there was 93 that were given the heave. So the left-hand side is the top of that cut. So 10 out of 10 Pill and a Teeny was 47%. And then they just roll down from there. And then onto the right-hand side, it just takes you straight down to the poor Drayman at the bottom, which is actually very good at 2%. So there's a huge amount of fantastic bands there, sitting somewhere in those 93. So I don't know what we do to find a way to dig some of them back in again, but it is in our gift to do that. So it's now's the time really to speak up and make your case, and we'll see if we can get a couple back on the green list. Who wants to go first? Julie, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. See, there's so many. I know it's quite conventional, but I love Biffy Clyro and I love Bubbles. And my husband tries to play this. He's in a band and he says it's so difficult to play. And I think they deserved at least one. I think they're really underrated. I think they're a fantastic band. And I just thought, you know what? I like Bubbles. And if I had to pick another one, I was really torn. But I needed one of the Bluebells, and especially there was like I just realised I'm Fallen was in this. So I was thinking I was going to go with one of their other ones. And as you know, that was a kind of spiritual moment at the Barras. It was a moment. And I was like, I was really surprised there wasn't more Bluebells. I was surprised there wasn't more Biffy. I was surprised there wasn't more Belle and Sebastian. They just felt like they slipped under the radar. So I would have Bubbles
Okay,
by
so
Biffy Clyro. I think that they deserve at least one slot in there. Definitely.
listen. If you want it on, it goes on. Every guest gets to put one back on, so it's not up for debate. But I'm fine with that. There's nothing wrong with Biffy at all. You
On the
might
Biff.
you go on the Biff. You might get the chance to put another one on, so you can have a wee look at the list there and see if there's any other ones that jump out on you.
There's some crackers in
I
here that
know.
you're just like sitting as Caroline said, you're going, that didn't get that. There's some amazing tracks.
Uh,
Some that I didn't know, and actually I was like, I don't know this one, and it introduced me to so many songs that I wouldn't know that were brilliant. So I really loved the fact that I didn't know it because it made me go, I'm going to actually investigate that. Let me check it. I did not know the Dreaming at all, and I thought, I'm going to check this out. And it was a fantastic song. So I was like, yeah, I've been really kind of the ones that I didn't know that well. It's introduced it to me. I've really
Good.
enjoyed that.
We've actually had, it's a really good point, Julie. We've had quite a lot of comments if you've been sort of trolling through anything on the Twitter X chat, even the guys that, maybe didn't vote for things or were don't knows. Some really nice
Hmm.
comments back saying,
Yeah,
never heard that before, it's great. So I think part of what we're doing is hopefully a bit of missionary work for Scottish music as well. And they will hopefully expand. And so you want these guys to get big, don't you? I think every
yeah.
band wants to be successful. So if we can help give them a wee leg up somewhere, that's a good thing. So, Caroline, what you thinking about this wonderful list of artists? I bet you must love a few on here.
Oh, well, I do, but as is the custom in these polls, a couple of things I suggested barely got out of single figures. Um, but at least they're there, and hopefully somebody listened to them. I
Yeah.
suppose one of the things that I'm thinking about, the ones that went through versus some of the ones on this, is I think some of the people that are on the rejected list are operating absolutely at the top of their game at the moment.
Mhm.
And I suppose I'm thinking of people like Hamish Hawke and whatever, who I think is, as you know, Brian, because you saw him at the Usher Hall as well, is just absolutely going places. Whereas I think the ones that went through have been places, if you see what I mean. So I don't think what's gone through is necessarily representative of, Scottish music moving forward.
I think that's a really good point, Caroline, because this is a 25-year span,
Hmm.
this last vote, and it was to kind of rebalance the numbers a little bit. But I suppose arguably we could have chopped it up into 2010 and then the sort of balance after that. So you're right. I think when you look at these, the guys that are still on the curve and going in the right direction, a lot of them are on here. Yeah. So who do you want to put back on then?
I would put Young Fathers back on. I can't see we cannot have Young Fathers there. I
Okay.
just think they're, and I know we're not voting for the band, we're voting for particular songs, but I would put I Saw back on. I think they're just operating at a different level at the moment and completely different to anything else that's gone through in the list so far.
And I mean, I thought there was more. I don't mean more recognition for them, but because they won the Say Award a couple of times, I actually
Well, they won the
th
Mercury Prize as
and the
well.
Mercury
Mm.
Prize, thank you, and they played Glastonbury, and
Hmm.
I thought their ripples were a lot wider,
Hmm.
maybe than they are.
Hmm.
Because you're right, there's nobody like them at the moment. They're fantastic. I just got a message from Donna because obviously Donna and Alistair couldn't make it tonight, so Donna's also just nominated I Saw. You'll be pleased to know. So
Excellent.
so we'll double up on that. That's an absolute given. I had a sort of personal call out. I was keen to get something from King Creosote on, doing our bit for the Fence Collective and all that. And again, I think he's still fairly current. Oh, it's probably never been particularly current, if that makes sense. But I think he's still quite relevant and quite important. Um,
Well, I
and
mean, he recently sold out the Usher Hall,
he
so I
did.
mean that'll be one of the biggest gigs he's ever played, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and also, he kind of gets lots of recognition, but also doesn't get lots of recognition, if that makes sense. So I think he's too good and too important not to have something on the final list. And I think it also rebalances it a little bit, makes it a little bit more kind of alternative, which I don't think is a bad thing. So I was going to stick on For One Night Only because it's probably the one that's got the best chance of getting some recognition, I think. If you're okay with that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So Donna's doubled up on I Saw, which is good. I mean, Mogwai, I think they had 4 or 5 on the list.
Yeah.
Nothing. Biffy was 3 before Julie got nominated back in. I don't think they got any. Belle and Sebastian, I think maybe 4 on this list. Nothing. Yeah. So, on your Bluebells comment, Julie, if you do want to make a case to put another Bluebell song on, you're perfectly entitled to do that. They already have 2 songs through to the finals from the 1980s
Yes.
polls.
Yeah.
So
So
that would
maybe
put us in a position where it'd be the third one, and we're
mm,
about to talk about bands that have got 3 on the list. But there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to put a song
no,
forward,
no,
it's
no.
fine.
I think maybe that might be too much because what you rightly said is it's about, you know, yeah, it's good to have the big hitters because it makes sense. Obviously, people are voting, they love these songs, but it's good to have kind of ones that are just maybe on the cusp or known but not as well known and bringing their songs to the masses. So as much as I love Bluebells and I'm Falling is I think possibly their best song. They've got I'm very happy they've got they're on the list. So I would think maybe something else just to kind of bring something like you're mentioning about the young fathers. I kind of know them, but it wasn't like anything I really knew. So something like that would be good to open it up just for an audience who might not be aware of them and to get them a wee leg up. So I'd be happy to actually pull back and I'll have a wee look and maybe something else, if
Okay,
that's okay.
that's totally
Yeah.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline, I know you and me are both big Hamish Hawk fans,
Mhm.
and Colin McCready, who was on the last episode, I think Colin actually nominated a Mauritius doubles champion. I think was one of his songs from his original list. It kind of time it feels right, maybe to give him a bit of recognition and try and get him into the finals, and just keep that kind of conversation going about where he is at the moment.
Mhm.
If you're okay with
Mhm.
that.
Well, I agree. I'd probably go, rather than Mauritian Badminton Club, I'd probably go for Big Cat Tattoos because I think his most recent album's a bit of a departure for him. It's definitely a lot harder hitting than what he's previously done, and I think Big Cat Tattoos exemplifies that.
I would agree with that. It's a great album and it is a bit different. I guess question is it going to is it going to get some leverage?
I suppose
Because
Mauritian and the badminton doubles is probably better known because it got a lot of airplay at the time.
it did, and you can sing along to
Mhm.
it, which always helps, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't mind. I don't mind
Go with
if
badminton.
you think we put back. I'll cheer Colin up as well, won't it? You know, I would have put Catherine through just because it's one of my favourite songs ever. But I think Badminton's a nice balance. It's the one in the middle of the 3. So
I feel really bad. I didn't even really know Hamish Hawk. We went to see Travis, and he was supporting,
Yeah.
and we
yeah,
were sitting, and I was kind of like, I don't want to, I can't bother with the support act, and we were there, me, Carlo, my daughters, and we were sitting there with a beer and that, and we were kind of like, this is quite good, and we went in. And honest to God, I was like, that's why support acts always go and support them.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, I
yeah,
felt really bad that I was not aware of him. He's fantastic, so
Mhm.
good. But
yep.
that was purely because we went to see Travis and he was supporting them. And as I said, I was just kind of like, oh no, we were a bit early, trying to get a good space, couldn't be bothered. Um, and it was just in the crowd. And what is really good, because it was kind of like the crowd, but you could see more people coming in when they heard like
Mhm.
us. So I was like, that's always a really good sign when people who are kind of like, they kind of bored with the support. But it was almost like, and see by the end, he'd won them over. And it was, I know he's mentioned this, because I was at what to see reviews, and he absolutely won over that crowd, including myself and my husband. It was fantastic. It was so good, and I felt ashamed that I didn't actually know before we went to see him, before we went to see Travis. I didn't really know anything, and obviously, as soon as I saw these pop up, I was like, oh, and listening to it, he's really good, fantastic. I'd be happy with anything, any of his going. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be coming around again quite soon because he does
Oh yeah,
enjoy playing live. So it just appears
and
to
he's
him
amazing.
that
Like,
it
yeah.
is amazing live, and these things go full circle. It's funny you say that, Julie, because last June, July time, I went to see the Killers, and Travis were supporting them.
I was there as well.
And I mean, obviously I know Travis, but two of my friends
Yeah.
that went didn't know them
Hmm.
particularly well. And we went
Mm.
in early enough to see Travis, and it was exactly the same chat. And they then bought tickets to see them in December.
There was quite a
Um,
few. We were actually
yeah,
on the seats, unfortunately, for the Killers, but we were on the floor for standing for Travis.
yeah,
And there was a few. You could see the crowd kind of sitting, and then see after like 10 minutes, by the time they got to Why Does It Always Rain on Me, it was literally people who might not have known them, or that you could tell the fans. We went super early because we were like, I want to see Travis, and we obviously had tickets for December as well. But you could see that they that portion of the crowd that didn't really know, and you
yeah.
could see that they'd won them over. So it's so important, the right support act, and it opens up like a whole new avenue for listeners.
It does. Okay, cool. So Bubbles back on, ISO's on, Mauritians doubles champion is on, one night only. Can clear. So, Julie, you want to shout on anything before we click out that? Are you happy to leave that?
Um, yeah,
Go,
I'm okay.
you're
Yeah,
going to you're going to message me once it finishes, aren't you? And
I know.
yeah. Well, listen,
Oh,
if
it's
you
like it's not like I've ever done that before, Brian. Come on, please, come on.
no,
Yeah, I
absolutely
know.
not. No, absolutely not. Can I just say as well, part of what you said there, Julie, about awareness of bands. I think, to be fair, I probably knew pretty much all the bands and artists that were on the list, but I certainly forgot about quite a few of them.
Mm.
And a couple of guys I've been listening to, I went and bought the Amazing Skinheads
Oh,
CD.
it's a cracking album.
It's great, Caroline. I totally
Brilliant.
forgot about them, right?
Mhm.
It's brilliant. Julie, that's another one for you if you don't know them. They're absolutely
Mhm.
brilliant.
I don't.
And also
And
Bob.
Donna would be another one that she really liked, the Amazing Snakeheads as well, and were fantastic live.
Oh, Force of Nature. Yeah,
Hmm.
amazing. Loved it. And also Ball Boy. I'm not, I mean, I only kind of half vaguely remember Ball Boy, but great. Just really good. And it's, it does change the way you listen to things. And
Hmm.
I got a lot of joy out of doing that. So there you are. For out of the 93, we've brought another four back in to the fold again. So we'll add them back in again. So thank you very much for that. And then that takes us to, I guess, the next step. So we've now done everything from, I think the early song we had was, I can't remember who it was. It was Jimmy Shanda, Harry Lauder, or someone like that. Up until stuff that's literally out right now, which is great. So I think it covers something. It's thick end of 100 years, I think we've covered, which is fantastic. Within that, we have four artists that have ended up getting three songs voted onto the final green list, only because they had two or more songs selected in one decade, and they then had another song voted through in another decade. So I've just left them in for the moment. We have done some vote offs already from previous podcasts. I think guys like Aztec, I think Lloyd Cole, Simple Minds, I remember. I think Caroline had quite a few.
Yeah.
So we have voted them off already to get them back down to two, but they have snuck up again. So we've got Aztec Camera, we've got Travis, we've got Delamitri, and we have the Jesus and Mary Chain, all with three songs on there. What do we want to do with them?
On that list, I'd be happy on each one. There's one song on each one that I'd be like, yep, 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 right away, I'd take away. That's just me. Like,
Okay.
I'd take Sing Off from Travis. I would take Nothing Ever Happens from Dylan Mitre. I'd take Sometimes Always Jesus and Mary Chain. I would take Somewhere in Our Heart by Aztec Camera.
Wow, no
That's what I
messing,
would
Julie.
do.
Straight in.
Yeah.
I didn't fall out with that, Julie.
Caroline, what's your take on those four? What do you think?
Um, no, I mean, I think I pretty much agree with what Julie said. And I mean, just like Honey was the song that I picked that had to be my must have for the top 10. So I
You
wouldn't
did.
like to see it
Absolutely.
go in favour of
No,
anything else. And
it
also,
can't go.
I think the other side of it is that if you put these up and ask people to choose, you'll probably get quite a lot of debate. Because
Hmm.
obviously these bands have got three songs through because people really, really like them and feel really strongly about them. So
Hmm.
you want
Yeah.
to encourage a bit of Twitter debate. I would stick them up in polls.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I might. But boy, I
If,
mean,
if,
goodness
if,
me. I mean, you have to pin your ears back when it starts. There's
Mhm.
nobody toxic at all. You don't get any bad conversation, but you obviously get lots of people taking a position on it, which is fine. So I think what we can do is we can maybe say on behalf of the podcast that we're minded to take out these four,
Mhm.
and we'll
And
vote
by the way,
against
that's
that.
not to dismiss it being as any, they're good songs, but it's just in comparison to the others, they're kind of more played, overplayed, and I just felt the other ones mean more and are better. And it's just you don't want overkill, you don't want so many. And I think it would be good to trim it back. And it's Caroline, just like Honey, as long as that's there. And I think Delimitri, Nothing Ever Happens is an amazing song. The lyrics are fantastic, but it's been overplayed. Justin Curry's an amazing lyricist, but Be My Downfall and Driving with the Brakes On, and especially Be My Downfall, I was just like, and they might not be as well known, but they absolutely deserve to be on there. So that was the only reason why I thought um, trim it down a wee bit, and maybe the more obvious, well-known ones, can I get rid of them?
Okay. I will take that away and I'll think about maybe putting it back out to our friends on X over the weekend and see where that
You
goes.
masochist.
I forget the time because we do need to start with the voting as well for the finals because we've got that to kind of get on with. But thanks for that. And just a PS to that is that within the Delamitri three, Justin Curry also has a song in the finals, a solo
hmm
song, If I Ever Loved You,
hmm
which is a lovely song.
hmm
So, they are fairly top heavy and we have a bit of a sort of an Amici army that does land when we have some stuff from them to
I
vote on
think
a
that
bit.
was my husband. Carlo is obsessed with Delimitri and Justin Curry. So I think he was just using all our devices to to vote.
I don't mind. I'd much rather they were interested than not interested. So, but we are trying to keep a balance. And I know the
Yeah.
first podcast we said, Ali Braidwood said he was quite passionate about trying to spread it as much as we possibly could do.
hmm
So I think we'll kind of stick to that principle, and I'll put those back out there, and we'll see what we get. Okay, lovely. Thanks for that. And I think yeah, just got one more to finish, and then we'll come back out. And this was really just to square off one of the things we started with, which was that we wanted all the guys in the podcast to have a song that they believed they could hopefully back through to certainly the very least top 10 at the end. So you can see we have Just Like Honey from Caroline, Colin McCready put A Girl Like You on, Tinseltown the Rain from Jerry, Donna put Small Town Boy through, and Ali messaged me today to put White Love on by One Dove, which I thought would cheer you up, Caroline.
Very nice.
I thought it might. So you and me, Julie, we need a song from this lovely green list of wonderful songs to put on this top 10 nomination list.
Uh, I've got it written down. Mine was the same as Caroline's, Just Like Honey. So I had to pick something different. Just Like Honey. Do you know what I love most about it? My daughter's obsessed with Lost in Translation, and
Right.
also the soundtrack's amazing. And the last song, and she was like, "But I love that last song." And I was like, "Oh, it's by a band called Jesus and Mary Chain." Just Like Honey. She went, "Were they a new band?" And I was like, "Oh, sweetheart, right." We're getting the records. We're getting the record. Here's an education. And I just thought that transcends everything. It fits. It meant so much to me. It's now going to mean something to my daughter. So that was my pick. I was like, I would fight tooth and claw for that. I know Caroline's picked it. So now I'm frantically checking, going, oh my God.
Okay. I
So I'll
mean, you
have to have
can
a
you can
think.
both pick the same one. I suppose it just gives you double bubble, doesn't it? There's no harm in
Yeah,
you having both two of you back in the same horse.
I'm
If that's
having
what
a
you
wee
want to
look.
do, that's fine. If
I'm
it if
having a
it
wee
help
look because
if it helps, I mean, I don't know if we're going to jump on you again here, but my take was going to be "Whole of the Moon" by the Waterboys. Probably not my favorite Waterboy song, but I have a soft spot for the band. So I also think they're sort of fairly well loved band in Scotland. It would have been them, or possibly it might have been Big Country, one of their two. But I'm going to go with Hall of the Moon. So unless that was your second pick, Julie.
it wasn't. So
Okay.
thankfully.
Okay then. Do you want to give us another one, or do you want to come back to us on that? Of
Can I come back to it
course you can.
because there's a few, and I have to weigh this up. I'm treating this like it's
That's
like it's a
okay.
Eurovision or something. This is like I feel like it's an election. Uh, There is a few. Uh, no, I'll have to come back to you, as I
You do
said. But I
that.
would have, if I would have picked Just Like Honey, I just can't see that being anywhere other than top 10.
Okay, so we'll put
And
you.
me and Caroline will fight people to the death for it. So
Absolutely. We will.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't fancy taking you on for that one. Okay, cool. Let's come out of that then. Thanks very much for that. Cool. That was great. That worked. Right, great. So we're kind of at the end now. So what do I make that then? Let me just check my numbers. So I reckon we put 14. I think I put 4 back in there. So I think that's 18 that have came through the last set of polls there out of that 107 that they had. So that gives us 104 songs altogether that currently are green, which are going through to the final vote. And we're going to start that either this weekend or as soon as I can get organised enough to start it. My question is, we had a chat, if you remember, Caroline, on the last podcast, we went fishing a bit to see what we thought on how we were going to start to get to the end of this and get to the final. And there was a few different kind of ideas kicking about. So I just wanted to run past you what I've came up with or what I think works best. And it's a bit of a hybrid of two suggestions. So a guy called John O'Connell, he gave us some feedback saying basically take some sort of proportional assessment. So for each of the decades, take like a pro rata of the final numbers so that you've got some coverage across all the decades rather than maybe the 1980s getting all the sort of final votes, which I thought was pretty fair. Colin McCready suggested we just, in effect, chuck them all in a bag and do a draw and just have a free for all, like a cup
Like the
run
FA Cup
thing.
or something.
Absolutely, and we kind of like that as well. So what I've tried to do is join the two together. So my suggestion is going to be that for the 104 songs that we take a proportion of each of the decades. So for example, the pre-1980s one's got 19 songs in the list, which is out of 104, which is I think 18%. So when we do some votes for the 1970s stuff, the the best ones that will make up 18% of the final vote will go into the final 30. Does that make sense? So it'll be 20% of 30 songs, it'll be about 6 songs. So we'll get 6 from
so it
that,
means you're
and
definitely getting some from each
yeah, 6 from that,
decade
and we'll get
getting
roughly
put through.
six in from the group we've just discussed,
Yeah.
and then the other 18 will be made up from the 80s and 90s, which is where
Hmm.
most of the sort of nominations really came from. So they'll still
Yeah.
get the majority of the final
Yeah, I mean,
30.
I think that's a really good way to do it, Brian, because you're not looking for the top 30, 80 songs. And if you don't
No,
weight it in some way, that's probably what you're going to end up getting.
probably. And
Yeah.
I don't mind the 80s coming through because, of course, arguably Scottish music was maybe never
Yeah, yeah.
better. I don't mind that at all, but I don't want
Mhm.
it to be an 80s poll, which
Mhm.
is
Mm-hmm.
it is a danger that it'll turn
Mhm.
into that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I think once we get that 30, which will work out really nicely, I'm going to then apply Collins rule and we're going to do a
Mhm.
cup draw for the
Mhm.
final 30 and we'll just do a
Mhm.
knockout. So
Mhm.
we'll have a 30 that everyone's pretty happy with, but we'll then do a 30 to 1 where we'll do some knockouts and we'll end up with a final and we'll have
Mhm.
some fun with that, I guess, on X.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we'll have something that at the end is the one voted
Mhm.
number one. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
That
It
sounds
sounds
good.
fair.
Mhm.
Good. Well, I'll remind you say that when I put it out there on Twitter, and I get an absolute kicking.
Delete, delete, delete.
I know. I'm surprised we've still got people following us, to be honest. Okay, magic. Okay, that's us. Cool. I don't think I've missed anything. So we've covered all the decades. We've got a final list, which I think is 104. I'll obviously
And
get
I
that.
will give you I will go back, I will study this list, and I will give you my choice.
You do. You give her that very
Yeah.
quickly,
Hmm.
Julie, because I'll be posting this out,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
if
within the next 10 minutes, I have. Yeah.
that's pretty quick. And then we'll get on with the knockouts and we'll get on with the final 30. And we'll definitely have at least one, possibly two more podcasts, depending on how all that's
Mhm.
going. Guess maybe Caroline will do one with the final 30 to see what
I
that
would
looks
think so.
like. And
I would
then
think
maybe
so.
that cup draw thing, we'll maybe do one at the end of that
Mhm.
for a bit of fun as well.
Just to kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, I think so. But in my head, we're going to try and have it done for about Easter. So we won't be too far away, I don't think, considering how much legwork there's been in it. So, and it's been great fun.
It's
And
been fantastic. I can't believe you've done this and the amount of work that's went into it, and it's been fantastic. And as I said, there's been songs that I have went, I've not heard of them in years. I totally forgot about them. And there's been acts where I've went, I've never heard of this. It's piqued my interest, and it's opened up a whole new avenue for me. So it's fantastic. I've loved it, and well done you for doing that. It's been wonderful.
it's been an absolute pleasure, Julie. And I suppose a PS to that, and this is guys like yourself and all the other John and George and Lisa and Colin and Jerry and everyone, Donna, everybody just kind of came along and helped us. But you know, like Twitter X, it's a bit toxic now, isn't it? You know, you don't need to go too far before you find some of the orcs out there. Um, you know, I've literally no issues ever on the chat, and
Mm-hmm.
more importantly, I think there's another 1,000 people that are on the page now from what there was about 2 months ago.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
you know, the
It's
the
amazing.
actual kind of the group isn't particularly big, but most Twitter pages are going down for a whole bunch of reasons. And we've managed to kind of, you know, usurp that and grow it a little bit, which I'm actually quite proud of because it shows there's an
Mm-hmm.
interest and people feel quite safe in it.
Yeah.
And
And
we get,
you're getting a lot of votes as well, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the
A
votes have been
lot of
great.
votes.
And we also get some really nice commentary from, I don't know, Lloyd Cole's on it a fair bit. Mike Scott's fairly regular contributor. We've had everyone Welsh on. You know, we have people who come along, say their piece, go away again, and there's never that much kickback really. And I like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's the way it should be. And long may it continue. So, anything else for tonight? Are we okay with that?
All good.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, that's episode 4 done. So just thanks again to Julie for joining us tonight and to Caroline. And thanks for your time again, Caroline. So we'll be back pretty soon with episode 5, which should hopefully give us the final 30, and that should be fun. So until then, look after yourself and stay safe. All the best now. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.